What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Full Court Talk podcast. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. But before we start, I just want to say thank you for getting us 100 views on our last podcast. That was
Yep.
pretty huge for us. It's the first time. And also, huge thanks to everyone who's been supporting me on the website. 1,000 views. And since I've started the podcast, I've had over 500 views on the website since then. So that's a huge shout out to CJ for hopping on.
Thanks, man. Hey, team effort.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
it's been so much fun. Over these last 2 months, we've actually grown a lot. So it's been
Yeah.
a lot of fun. But let's get into it. We have a long podcast, I think, and this one should be a lot of fun. We're gonna talk about the NBA aiming to start on December 22nd, which is crazy. We're gonna
Mhm.
talk about the French kid, Victor Wembanyama.
Mhm.
And the big topic I think here is, should the Milwaukee Bucks trade Giannis now or risk losing him for nothing?
Yeah.
Then we got some coaching stuff to clean up. Stan Van Gundy is back in the NBA. Amar'e Stoudemire joins Steve Nash. And like we said last week, we're going to go back into the draft since the draft is November 18th. We're going to go
Mhm.
through picks 6 through 10. So we have a lot to go through, so let's get started. So first things first, I saw this from J.E. Skeets of The Athletic and
Yeah.
the No Dunks podcast. So he said the NBA League office informed the Board of Governors that the projected value for teams and players with a December 22nd start versus a later date is more than $500 million. So that tells me the season's
Yeah.
starting on December 22nd.
Yeah.
And like I said, like we talked about this before, they're going to start with a 72 game season. So it's going to be like the
Mhm.
lockout season.
Yeah.
Um, but like I told CJ when I first saw this, I guess Christmas games are worth that much,
Yeah.
and
A
I
lot of
never
money.
realized that
Same.
because I knew that like they were super popular because like they're some of the most fun games to go to, but
Yeah.
$500 million—that's insane.
It's a lot of money.
I just that's insane, and I think like even with Nike like not even having their own Christmas Day jerseys like Adidas,
Yeah.
you're still getting kids getting like jerseys like crazy for Christmas.
Exactly.
And then going to a game is some people's tradition.
Yeah.
I mean, I went when the lockout season was for the opening day, and that was one of the best games I've ever been to.
Mhm.
It's a different feeling.
Yeah.
There's no worries in the air, there's no stress. It's just going to a basketball game.
Yeah.
But that's insane. I can't believe there's going to be a 2-month and 12-day difference between the finals
Mhm.
and the next season. So, like, that
Yeah.
makes me think, like, anyone who made the playoffs is going to feel it.
Oh yeah.
And
Definitely.
then the Heat and the Lakers, Celtics and Nuggets, like such a quick turnaround could be super dangerous.
Yeah.
And I think the NBA is just gonna have to be like, you can rest players, like no matter who it is, you can't find them because if
Mhm.
you're finding them, you're just allowing them to either get hurt, stress fractures, which are even worse,
Yeah.
and you're just gonna you're really playing with like you're stepping on thin ice here
Yeah.
because
Stepping
this
on your
is
luck.
super dangerous.
Yeah.
And then adding in a
Exactly.
pandemic too,
Mhm.
you have so little time to get that whole thing ready. And it sounds like they're not doing a bubble. Sounds like they want to have fans in the arenas, which is a
Mhm.
huge mistake, like we've said. I
Yeah.
hope the NBA looks at the NFL and the
Mhm.
MLB and says no fans. I'm totally fine if you play in the arena. Like, just be safe. That's the name of the
Yeah.
game. You
Yeah.
look at any team that hasn't allowed fans in the NFL. I don't think they've had COVID cases, at least not as many.
Mhm.
So it's a very interesting thing that's gonna happen for
Yeah.
us fans. It's amazing. We're gonna have basketball back in 2 months.
Mhm.
But what do you think about this whole like return
Yeah.
so quickly?
Well, I mean, first things first, like, you predicted, along with myself, that the season wasn't going to start till January.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what everybody was thinking. That was more realistic than anything that we've seen so far. But you know, bringing up the Christmas Day, like I think the money, the revenue is just too much to pass up. So as we all know, the NBA is a business. So like, despite not Nike not releasing jerseys like Adidas did, and not even releasing Christmas Day kicks, they haven't done that. They're still gonna make a lot of money. You just got to put in the powerhouse teams out there. There's a lot of storylines to be said, and so like the NBA is gonna look into that for sure. And like what I sent to you, like it'd only be 75 days since Game 6, and it'd be such a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, obviously, the COVID caused the NBA to stop, and they were not in play for 3 months. So I understand, that could be another factor as well. But like you said, at the end of the day, like teams that made it far into the bubble, mentally and physically, like that's gonna take a toll on them at the start of the season. You know, and if they don't do a bubble setting, and if they do arenas, obviously that could raise some problems.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like for us basketball fans, like really appreciate the basketball starting so soon, obviously. But it's just the fact that personally, for these professional athletes, I don't think it's the best move for them. I think January should have been the targeted due date.
Yeah.
And so, like, moving forward, it's going to be interesting to see how the league handles, load management. In the past, like Kawhi, even LeBron, LeBron has been like in the media, he's been like not really say like Kawhi, um, targeted for load management. He actually did get injured, but
Yeah.
people like Kawhi, PG, what the Clippers did, you know, now they're gonna expect what they did to be justified,
Yeah.
and with good reason. And so like the NBA has to look at that for sure. I think they'll gain a lot of money Christmas Day, but pushing forward in terms of what teams would want to do, they might lose some money because even though like hopefully there won't be any fans. I mean, people watching, they want to watch big time players, and
Yeah.
so like for example, if Milwaukee, later on we're going to talk about them, but Milwaukee wants to rest Giannis and Chris Middleton, obviously they're not going to want to go watch that,
Yeah.
especially if they're playing like a team like the Hornets. That's already going to pull in like low viewers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so like resting players like Giannis and Chris Middleton would only prove to be detrimental.
Yeah.
So overall, I think it's good for us basketball fans, but for the league moving forward, like I don't know if it's the best decision.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And then to go from the NFL, like you look at how little they had training camp.
Yeah,
And like it's crazy on how many ACLs have been torn in
exactly.
such a short like time, like 7 weeks. What, like 30 players have torn their ACL?
Yeah, just OBJ
And
recently too,
yeah,
yesterday.
and that's
Yeah.
not a, like, I know an ACL isn't as bad as it once
Hmm.
was, but it's
Yeah.
still an injury you can't come back from either 100% or quickly.
Yeah.
Clay tore his ACL back in last year's final. Still hasn't
Hmm.
appeared in a game. Obviously, less chances to appear in a game now, but
Yeah.
we still don't know how that's going to work.
Hmm.
So you need to give at least 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and they're not going to have that time because
Yeah.
the draft is on the 18th. Are you going
Hmm.
to try and like put in that rookie into
Yeah.
a training camp so soon? That
Hmm.
still only leaves 4 weeks. Plus, you have
Yeah.
free agency. So it'll be really interesting, but also kind of scary for players. Like, are you going to get the time you need to get ready?
Yeah.
And, like, you can get ready on your own, but there's nothing like playing full speed
Exactly.
and full 5-on-5s. And you can barely do that now
Hmm.
because you have to be tested to get your results, then go. And either way, at the training camp, you have to be in a bubble.
Exactly. Yeah.
How are the Lakers going to be being in the Lakers and the Heat? Like, they
Yeah.
just went like 4 months in a bubble.
Hmm.
And now in a month they have to go right back for training camp.
Yeah.
So for guys like LeBron who have older kids, they can't go stay in the bubble with them. They got glass.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's pretty crazy that I think a lot of players you're gonna see are gonna opt out
Yeah.
because that's asking for a lot of these guys.
Yeah. And you know what? This isn't even considering the fact that before the games even actually start, they have to quarantine.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? For the safety of everybody. You know what I mean? And so a lot of players, they're going to be forced to do that. And, you know, if they want to play, they're going to be forced to do that. So that's not even factoring into the decision of the game. So, for example, December 22nd, they would have to quarantine 14 days before that. So it's just another time. You know what I mean?
yeah, and like I think the more we talked about it, like it seems very rushed.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get it. I mean, 500 million, that's insane.
It is.
And then you add on to the fact that they already lost money for last season. Yes, they picked up 1.5 billion for continuing the season, but
Yeah.
that's not taking into account whatever they missed
Yeah.
because they missed like 5 months of basketball,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a lot of revenue. Plus, you have no
Yeah.
fans, and you're
Yeah.
paying for the bubble at Disney World, which could not have been cheap.
Yeah.
So it's crazy on how, like, I don't even know what they're gonna do. And as a fan,
Mm-hmm.
I feel really bad for some of the players.
Oh yeah. No, definitely.
The Lakers and Heat players, I don't know how they're gonna survive next season.
Yeah.
It's gonna
It's like,
be super tough.
yeah, and like you said earlier, like the responsibility is ending up being on the players, like
Hmm.
to make sure they take care of themselves. And you know, like as like selfish as that sounds, like it's up to the NBA and for the teams to do that. You know what I mean? You know, these guys they play for the whole season for our entertainment. So the off season is all about, you know, whatever they decide to do. You know, some players are different. They want to, you know, continue with their workouts and whatnot. But starting early is forcing them to take away from their personal time
Yeah,
in order to be able to play at the highest level. So I feel like that's not fair as well. So
yeah. And then like Bryce and his girlfriend were watching the Ball in the Family show,
hmm
and I was watching just because it was on,
hmm
and they got to where Lonzo was in the bubble, and
yeah,
like you could tell that dude was sad. Like
yeah,
he
yeah,
he has like a new baby girl,
yeah,
and he's away from her.
hmm
And it's like for the parents like that and like the guys like that, like it's tough to be away from your kids. I don't know what that feels like, 'cause I'm not a father, but
yeah,
it's still like it's gonna take a toll on you.
hmm
And to do it again for 72 games, a full season,
yeah.
that's asking a lot. So I hope they
It
find a way
is.
to get their families inside, but
Mm-hmm.
that's asking a lot of these players.
It is. Yeah.
But the NBA looks to start December 22nd. We're gonna see what happens, and we'll
Yeah.
see, and we'll cover whatever happens, because
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee more is gonna come out.
Oh yeah.
But
Definitely.
on to the next thing. So something that kind of took Twitter by storm is a
Mm-hmm.
kid by the name of Victor Wembanyama.
Mm-hmm.
He's a French, I guess, center. He is 16 years old. He
Yeah.
stands at about 7'2",
Mm-hmm.
and at 16 I was 5'6", and that's being kind of generous.
Yeah.
I think right now I'm like 5'7", so
Yeah. Same.
so to put that in perspective, this guy's
Yeah.
tall.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, he doesn't have just height. He's not just Bol Manute Bol.
Yeah.
He is a unicorn. Like
Yeah.
we've seen Chris Styles, who we called him a unicorn.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a unicorn now is a big that can shoot. Let's be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
This is the first guy that we can see that like we can watch him be like, whoa, that's a unicorn because he moves so well.
Yeah.
He has a beautiful shot.
Mm-hmm.
I think it kind of reminds me of KD, the way his follow
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
So that's super interesting because
Yeah.
KD is a great shooter, and this kid looks
Yeah.
like a pretty good shooter.
Yeah.
Um, Scouts have called him the greatest prospect,
Mm-hmm.
which is insane because I don't know if you know Imani Bates.
Yeah.
That guy is nice too.
Yeah, he is.
But now more than ever, unicorns are in. I would
Yeah.
not be shocked if you open a scouting book and it gives you a whole detailed look on how to find a unicorn.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you look at every draft now, they come out like, oh, this kid's a unicorn. James
Yeah.
Wiseman is considered a unicorn.
True.
And I wouldn't even say he's that much of a unicorn because he can hit a midi. That's about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he's been compared to Kristaps Porzingis on offense and Rudy Gobert on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Those two together, if you molded those two together, that's frightening.
Yeah.
But I would not be shocked if someone tanks for him because
Mm-hmm.
he looks really good. In his first game against in his first game of the season, he had 22 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 blocks. So
Insane.
yeah, so
Yeah.
he has amazing potential, but he's just so polished for a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
This is how Euro guys are. They
Exactly.
get started so early. I would not be shocked if this kid was a professional at 13, like Luka.
Yeah.
And I think I saw
Definitely.
his parents were like 6 feet tall,
Yeah.
and somehow he's 7'2".
Yeah.
And like, good thing he's only 16, but he needs to add some muscle
Yep. That's what I
because
was gonna
he
say.
is insanely skinny.
Yeah.
But
He
what
is.
do you think about Wembanyama?
Well, like I like what you said about the unicorn term being taken out of context. Um, you know, it is essentially a big that can do what a guard does.
Yeah,
And you know, James Wiseman, Kristaps, like these guys are defined as unicorns, but this kid, like he's special, as we
yeah,
can see. And, you know, I know you mentioned about sending me like videos of him for the rest of the footage
oh yeah,
of that game. But no, regardless, I did my own research on him as well. But he just needs to put on some weight
yeah,
because he is nimble. He can move for his size. And, like I went on his Instagram and he was doing a Q&A, and somebody had asked him like, "Hey, like, are you still growing?" And at 16, like obviously, like he doesn't know what his body's gonna be like, right? But
yeah,
he answered and he was just like, no, I think I'm done at 7'2", but that's not the case. You know what I mean? Because like, we know about some college players that grew into their own while in college.
yeah,
And so like, while a guy he's only 16, he does have that release point like KD. He has a soft touch,
yeah,
not like a big man soft touch, but like almost like a guard.
yeah,
And like for example, Anthony Davis, commentators and like scouts would say that, I mean, obviously he was a guard before he got that big growth spurt,
mm-hmm.
so he can't handle the ball like him. And so like, this kid, like if he can put it all together, if he can do a transformation like Giannis went through, where Giannis was scrawny, you know
Yeah,
what I mean? And so like if he can put on the weight, I mean, the footage that we saw was he was practicing with Rudy Gobert and like a couple other two like guys that were like pretty tall in their own right,
yeah,
but he was towering over them. He made Rudy Gobert look like he was like 5'10". You know what
yeah,
I mean? And so like you know a player like that, he's obviously gonna work. He's gonna need to work on his muscles, but like being able to move like a guard, release the way that he does, like I mean, I'm gonna say like he is KD-esque.
yeah,
You know what I mean? People are trying to say that that's how Brandon Ingram was because their body style was, but this guy, he is skinny, he's tall. He plays like a guard. He doesn't even play in the paint from what we've seen.
yeah.
You know what I mean? He plays out in the 3-point line, and I think that is the trend. And he's just one of many kids that are coming from international waters. Luka is incoming. You know what I'm saying? And so I've read articles that said that the next Michael Jordan might be from an international setting. You know what
I
I mean?
wouldn't
It
be
might not.
shocked.
Yeah, it might not be from America in the United
Yeah,
States. And so like he's one of these kids that like scouts are salivating over. And like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if any team tanks for him. You know what I mean? And so like I'm not sure where the draft stands in terms of allowing kids to enter
I
early. I'm
believe
not.
you can enter 18 now.
18, right?
I
Yeah.
think you have to be when you're as long as you're 1 year removed from high school,
Hmm.
you can join.
Yeah.
But for Euro players, I don't know exactly the rule because
Yeah.
they don't have high school there
Hmm.
for these guys. I
Exactly.
think because like Luca was a pro at 13, so technically he could
Yeah.
have entered when he was like 14.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
So I believe 18 is the age when you can join.
Okay.
So
Well,
we could see him in 2 years.
yeah. And in 2 years, he might be even more polished.
Yeah.
And the scary part about it is that that won't even be his prime. And so, like, moving forward, like, the draft has made changes into how long a prospect has in terms of wanting to enter their name. But if they were to change it up and do the age where you can enter right out of high school, so for example, players like LeBron, KG did, at 16, and we see him earlier, I honestly believe that he can hold his own. Um, you know what I mean? And because he won't be banging down there unless it's on defense. And like, the kid had 7 blocks on his debut. A lot of people like to say the NBA is the best league in the world, and obviously it is in terms of hoop. Um, but I feel like he will be able to hold his own. A stretch big nowadays is vital
Yeah.
to a championship piece. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I think I'm very excited to see where he does or what he does moving forward. He definitely has a lot of promise, and as long as he, continues the path, stays healthy, gains muscle, like he'll be fun to watch. Definitely
Yeah.
fun to watch.
Yeah. I think this guy is just it's insane to see like how good he is
Yeah.
for his age and like
Hmm.
for his height.
Yeah.
He is very polished, and I'm
Hmm.
super interested to see where he goes
Yeah.
on from here because I think we're going to be seeing him for a long time.
Yeah. I
And the
agree.
only thing about these tall, skinny kids is they are injury prone most of the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
We've seen Bobo. He
Hmm.
is pretty injury prone. That's why we didn't see him at Oregon.
Yeah.
Manute Bol was a little different, but still same
Yeah.
thing. Yao Ming.
Hmm.
Yao Ming was probably one of the most overrated players who
Yeah.
got injured a lot. And I think if he stayed healthy, he probably would have been one of the best bigs of all time.
Yeah.
But, big guys are scary to take now
Hmm.
because you don't know what you're going to get. And
I
with this
agree.
kid, you see what you get, but just their ability is huge now.
Yeah.
If he can stay healthy, he is going to be very good for a
Hmm.
very long time.
Yeah.
But let's get on to the biggest topic. Should the Milwaukee Bucks trade Giannis now, get something back, or risk losing him for nothing? What do you think?
Like I told you yesterday, as long as the Bucks retain most, if not all, pieces like vital to their rotation, I say they just keep him. I feel like the only way they would trade him is if they want to blow the whole thing up, restart from scratch. And I don't think they want to do that. I think they still want to contend. Obviously Giannis has made a vocal point of him wanting to be there, so that's a good start. Things could change, obviously, as we've discussed earlier in the other podcast, where he said that he'd be open, to discussion.
Yeah,
And him and Steph have the same agent, so that plays a role as well. But for the most part, I feel like he wants to stay, seeing where it's at. And I would only trade him if it meant trading for another polished superstar. Like if it was like a guaranteed superstar that could fit the hole that he would leave, if not fit it better, that's the only way they would trade him. I don't think they want to rebuild. Like I said yesterday, the only piece they've lost so far is Marvin Williams, but I think the Bucks do keep him.
yeah,
Um, Maybe they trade somebody else, who knows? But they should keep him, in my opinion. They shouldn't trade him for nothing, because I mean, if he does leave, I mean that's the risk. You know what I mean? That's the risk of the downfalls that they had in the past 2 seasons. But for the most part, I think the Bucks should definitely keep him. He wants to be there. Um, as of right now,
yeah.
things may change, but yeah, I think they should keep him.
I actually think they should trade him.
Hmm.
And I'm trying not to be biased towards the Warriors, but
Yeah.
we've seen this time and time again.
Hmm.
Big names leave small cities,
Yeah.
and that's just how it is. Small market teams can't retain their big names because they can't put a good team around them, and they can't
Yeah.
get their name out there.
Yeah.
Milwaukee's done a good job of getting his name out there,
Yeah.
but they have yet to build a team that is capable of winning playoff games.
True.
Regular season games are regular season games. That's great if you can go win 65 games, but if you can't put it together in the playoffs, what does it matter?
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, and I think this latest playoff blow up is huge.
True.
Um, and
Yeah.
he did not look happy. Uh, I don't like some of the things he's saying. Like, yeah, he's saying like, "Oh yeah, I want to be here," but he's also, you can tell, like, he also said like, what happens happens.
Hmm.
So I don't think he cares where he is. He just wants to win. That's Giannis's big thing. He wants to win.
Hmm. Yeah.
And the problem with the Bucks is that they they have these guys, Chris Middleton, Eric Bledsoe, former All-Stars, but they have yet to show up in the playoffs. Bledsoe, for some reason, disappears. Um,
Hmm.
Chris Middleton kind of saved himself after Giannis got hurt,
Yeah.
but he still struggled throughout the playoffs.
He
Giannis
does.
keeps
Yeah.
them afloat, and when people are saying, "Oh, Giannis is having a bad game," that's gonna happen when you're the only one carrying everything on the offense.
True.
You're gonna struggle because you're gonna have to take all the difficult shots because they're gonna key in on
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So it's gonna come back to bite them if they keep him, because you're looking at like what happened to Cleveland when LeBron left the first time.
Yeah.
They were barely putting it together. They had Kyrie and Tristan Thompson, and they didn't really have much going on. That team
Hmm.
wasn't going to make the playoffs, at least for not for a long time. Then he comes back. They win the finals in 2016. He leaves again for the Lakers, and they're still terrible.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're drafting very odd, two guards, and it's just a very weird time in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Go back to the Shaq when Shaq left the Magic. They didn't recover till Dwight got there.
Yeah.
So you're really taking huge risk if you don't trade him for something. And
Yeah.
the only way I would trade him, obviously, is if he doesn't sign an extension this season. He signs an
Yeah.
extension, good. You got him. That's what you
Yeah.
wanted. But, I mean, Giannis is super loyal. We've seen that. He loves Milwaukee because they took a chance on him.
Yeah.
But winning is going to speak much louder. And it really seems like his patience is running thin. And
Yeah.
there's we've seen what you can get for PG. If the Bucks can get 8 first rounders, even 6, that's a good haul.
Yeah.
Um, but it's going to be very tough. They're in a very difficult situation because they're also dealing with the NBA losing a lot of money.
Hmm.
Small market teams aren't going to be able to contend with a big market team for money. So I'm not too sure what they're going to do. I would think trading Chris Middleton and Eric Bledsoe is definitely on the table. I think Eric
Yeah.
Bledsoe's as good as gone.
Yeah.
And it really showed that I think they should have kept Brogdon. Giannis was pretty upset that they didn't.
Yeah.
Uh, I get forking out the money for an unproven guy like Brogdon was tough, but Brogdon really came into his own against or on the Pacers. So
Hmm.
going forward, I really think that they're going to end up or they should end up trading him. I think they're going to keep him.
Yeah.
You could get some great assets for him.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even trade him to the Warriors because you're going to get Wiggins and Pascal. and like 4 picks. I think you could go to a different team and get more. But I think going forward, like the Bucks are not in a good position. They have yet to show that they can win.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of a contention they're going to have in terms of the finals, but they're going to be a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely a difficult situation they put themselves in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they're going to keep them, but I
Mm-hmm.
think they're going to lose them. I don't think they're going to win the East next year.
Yeah.
But we're going to see. Should be a very interesting season next season if they keep them.
Yeah.
But going on to the next topic, coaching additions. Stan Van Gundy is back in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
He was
Yeah.
really, really fun to hear as a broadcaster during the bubble. I thought he
Yeah.
did a fantastic job.
Oh, yeah.
But he's going to the New Orleans Pelicans,
Mm-hmm.
a young team that I know you love and I love.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen his track record with bigs.
Yeah.
He could either work wonders with Zion Williamson and Jackson
Mm-hmm.
Hayes
Yeah.
or not, because he did struggle with Detroit.
Yeah.
And mainly that's probably because the team they put together wasn't great. Josh Smith as your small forward is questionable.
Mm-hmm.
Andre Drummond is arguably has been at his ceiling for quite a long time now.
Yeah.
And I mean Brandon Jennings was their point guard, so
Mm-hmm.
also not looking good there.
Mm-hmm.
That was just a bad team.
Yeah.
And it was just a really poorly put together team. But a young team like this with Lonzo, Jackson Hayes, Zion Williamson, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, this is a good young team that should
Yeah.
be able to get further than they did this season.
Mm-hmm.
But something that people haven't really mentioned is that Jameer Nelson was an all-star under Van Gundy.
Yep.
Maybe Lonzo could be a Jameer Nelson, a good lob passer,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully he develops his shot a little more, and hopefully he does the same for Lonzo and Zion. But what do you
Mm-hmm.
think about the fit of Van
Yeah.
Gundy on the Pelicans?
Well, first things first, like SVG, like, being on the Pistons, like not only was coaching one of his concerns, he also had a dual position as director of VP,
I think he was the president.
president.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like he had like a similar role to Doc Rivers. And, as we've seen, playing two roles doesn't really help your resume or the team moving forward. And so I saw an article on Twitter. I forgot who it was, but he basically said that the Pelicans said, or maybe it was Shams, I'm not sure, but the Pelicans weren't looking at SVG's history of being the owner, or they were just simply looking at the fact that he could coach. You know what I mean? Being a president, I mean, doesn't play the role of his hiring. I think being the coach, and like you said, like, he had players thrive under him. He had Jameer Nelson become an all-star. He had Courtney Lee as a rookie, be up there for rookie of the year. Played a pivotal role in the 2009 run that they had. I think he can definitely transform this Pelicans team to a better version of themselves from this past season. I think the number one concern is obviously what we're signing Brandon Ingram, because he's a free agent, right? And so I think unless they want to go all in on Zion, BI should definitely be a top priority. But as a coach, I think he'll exceed their expectations. You know what I mean? Right now, I feel like obviously they want to make the playoffs, but realistically speaking, they're probably thinking, hey, you know what? Your first year, do what you can. He might even lead them there. Everybody just has to stay healthy. And like you said, like he has a good track record with bigs. We see what he did with Dwight with the polished hammer. You know what I mean? And so like assuming they keep everybody, Josh Hart, BI, Zoe, Zion, like they're gonna be a fun team to watch. And like a lot of people overlook that he has a relationship with JJ Redick already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so like, definitely need veteran presence moving forward. And so I think JJ Redick is he obviously loves this hiring. I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything about him not liking it. But yeah, I think Zoe and Zion are going to be a tandem, which they've already been shown. Under the offense that SVG wants to run, they're going to both thrive. And I think it was a good hiring for the Pelicans. To be honest, I don't think we've considered him as a candidate for the Pelicans.
Oh, we haven't.
You know what I
I didn't even
mean?
know he
And
was looking
so,
for a job like that.
yeah, um, I honestly thought that he's going to stay as a commentator for a little bit because
Yeah.
he did do a really good job. The
Yeah.
way he breaks down plays, it's like it's better than most,
Mhm.
And so, good for him. The firing of Alvin Gentry was kind of a surprise to me because I think he did a great job. With the
Yeah.
Pelicans.
With
Obviously,
what
they
he
didn't make the
had.
play. Yeah, obviously he didn't make the playoffs, but he worked with what he got, and I feel like he led them farther to what people expect them to have. You know what I mean? And so, I think overall the Pelicans made a good decision in hiring him. I'm definitely excited to see what they can do. I think, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, and I think something that needs to be said is that ownership kind of screwed over Alvin Gentry in the bubble.
Yeah,
Zion didn't play at all, and if he did, he
yeah.
didn't play much.
Mhm.
Um, and I think they really need to watch out for that because I get they're trying to keep him healthy, but babying players like that is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Um, and putting him on a minutes restriction at such a young age is crazy to me. And
Mhm.
if he's really in that bad of shape, let him go run because he isn't the healthiest looking player.
Nope.
And I hope
Unfortunately,
that Van Gundy can do something about that because Zion is a big boy.
he is. He is.
So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
But to get on to the next one, Amar'e Stoudemire joins Steve Nash's bench.
Mhm.
This one kind of makes me feel old because I remember
Yeah.
watching Steve Nash and Amar'e Stoudemire on the Suns,
Yeah.
and then now they're both coaches.
Yeah.
So it's crazy to me. Um,
Mhm.
but I hope this means that they're gonna finally utilize a KD pick and roll
Yeah.
because that's the one thing the Warriors just never did was
Mhm.
utilize KD and Steph in the pick and roll.
Yeah.
Even a Kyrie KD pick and roll is just so nasty
Yeah.
because I mean the pick and roll already is one of the most effective plays, and you can pick your poison at that point. Kyrie gets open lane, or you double him, KD's open, or
Yeah.
vice versa.
Yeah.
Um, so I really hope that's what this means because KD is already one of the best scorers of all time,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
you give him easy looks like this, it's gonna be over.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I like this. I think Steve Kerr knows what he can do with Stoudemire. They've
Yeah.
obviously played together for a long time, so it
Mhm.
should be really interesting to see what happens here. But what do you think about this signing?
I'll tell you what. Steve Nash, Amari, KD, and Kyrie. That pick and roll won't be as nice, but it'll be even better. I'll
Definitely.
tell you that much. Kyrie, we already know he's a magician with the ball.
Yeah.
KD, one of the best offensive players we've ever seen. And so, nobody, in my opinion, can rival what Steve Nash and Amari did in those Suns years with the pick and roll. Maybe John Stockton and Karl Malone, but they were before my time. But yeah, I think definitely him joining the staff for Steve Nash is big. I think Amari, if he wanted to, he could probably play still. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean?
And he
And
was playing in the Big Three in Israel,
yeah, in
so
Israel,
he's
yeah,
been playing.
yeah. And so like I think that plays like an important role with players moving forward because like they can resonate with them. These guys aren't far from playing, and so like they can bond through that. But I think as an assistant, like him and Nash will be on the same page in a lot of things. They can help players. And so I think that's what Kyrie and KD need. Somebody, that they can relate to, they can talk to, because as we know, like these guys are two of the most sensitive players, unfortunately, in the
Yeah.
NBA. And so, like, having Nash and Amar'e, teaching them. We obviously know Kyrie and KD already vouches for Steve Nash. I feel like
Yeah.
he played a role in hiring him. And so, the Nets, they're going to be fun to watch, if not already even more. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I'm curious to see who else is added to the staff. Maybe Sean Marion, Raja Bell,
The old Suns team.
the whole Suns team, man.
Mike D'Antoni.
D'Antoni too, But yeah, it's crazy. It does make me feel old. You know what I mean? Because right now D'Antoni, he doesn't have a job, and Steve
Steve
Nash,
Nash has a job.
Steve Nash has one. That might be an interesting dynamic. We don't know. What if the Nets get him too? Because we already know like
Oh
that
God.
Nash is going to utilize
Yeah.
a running gun offense.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And the Nets are going to run. They're going to run hard. And so like Amari being there just only like heightens that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so like at the end of the day, like it was a good hire, not only for Steve Nash but the whole organization.
I don't know if you used to watch, The Association.
Yeah.
And then the next one where I think I saw this where Amar'e Stoudemire used to take wine baths.
Yeah.
And then I saw a picture on Twitter. It was him in a wine bath, and he was like, "Step into my office, Kyrie." I was like, now every time I see Amar'e Stoudemire, I just think of that.
Yeah.
And that really made me think that that's a good signing because Amari's a weird guy too.
Yeah, he is.
KD and Kyrie are weird people.
They are.
This could be perfect for them. Maybe it was a good choice on that part.
Yeah.
But let's get into the draft selections.
Mm-hmm.
So the sixth pick in the draft is going to belong to the Atlanta Hawks.
Mm-hmm.
And like we've said before, this is a weird draft. And it was kind of difficult selecting these picks because these guys can go anywhere. I have no idea where they're going to go. Tyrese Halliburton is who I chose for the Atlanta Hawks. And he could literally go to the Warriors. I have no idea. But he's a 6'5" point guard. Really good size. Good on defense. Good playmaking abilities. He did shoot 41.9% from three.
Yeah.
But his shot, I don't know if you've seen it. It looks a little odd.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it's going to translate to the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
But even if it's not super consistent, his playmaking abilities off the bench and his defensive capabilities are really going to be what's special for him.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's just a couple of mechanics that he needs to change in the shot. And maybe he can get it going to about 35, 36%, which is still a decent clip. But the starting lineup for the Hawks is arguably set.
Yeah.
They got Trae Young, obviously, Kevin Huerter, Cam Reddish / DeAndre Hunter. Don't know who's going to start there, but and then they got John Collins and Clint Capella. We've heard that they're trying to trade John Collins.
Yeah.
I think they're very intrigued with Obi Toppin as his replacement, but I think that's a dumb idea.
I think so
John
too.
Collins and Obi Toppin are arguably the same player, but Collins rebounds and defends better. So
he's already established too.
Yeah, and he's already been with the team, and I get it's going to be tough to pay him all that money.
Yeah.
But I'd rather stick with someone that Trae Young knows rather than getting him someone else because we already know Trae Young's pretty frustrated with this team and management. So stick with what he knows. And if he says he wants John Collins gone, trade him. But until then, keep him. He's a good player. He's like the 15th pick in the draft or something like that. Like he was not a super high lottery pick. So take that and kind of mold him into something that you need. You already have Clint Capella as a good defender and rebounder, but I think Collins is a much better fit than Toppin.
Yeah.
But who do you think the Hawks will select?
For my list, I actually have Denny. I have him
Okay.
going to the Hawks. And like you said, their starting lineup is already established. I did see that they did want to explore their options of trading John Collins, but I don't think they should.
Yeah.
John Collins you know, is where the NBA is turning to now. Stretch fours. He can't shoot as well, but he's athletic. He can defend. He's nimble. He can guard 1 through 4, in my opinion, even 5.
Yeah.
And so they should definitely keep him. But having a player like Denny, it only cemented his stock with what we've seen how the Warriors are blown away, with his interview
Yeah.
and just his workouts. And so, this guy might be a great player, possibly the best player in the draft. We don't know. But I feel like the Hawks could definitely use a player like that coming from their bench because, I watched the Hawks for Cam Reddish. I love them at Duke.
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
watch him for him and also for Trae Young. But coming off the bench, they don't really have that guy. And so if Denny is as good as advertised, he can plug into that rotation. And Trae Young had all the green light in the world, and so having a coach, I hope they don't fire him because if they get Denny, then he could possibly have that green light to be himself, and he
Mm-hmm.
needs a team where he can be himself. And so I definitely have him going over there. I think he would play well alongside Trae Young. And, although the Hawks have Kevin Huerter and Cam, he could be another option of a scoring punch off the bench. And so I think he could also play alongside any of these forwards that they already got,
Yeah.
especially the bigs. And so, yeah, I have Denny going to the Hawks.
And I think either one of these guys is going to be good for the Hawks because they need a secondary playmaker.
True.
Because Trae Young has so much off-ball potential, but
Yeah.
there's no one to get him the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter should be able to take another step forward
Yeah.
this coming season, and I wouldn't be shocked if Cam Reddish starts over Kevin Huerter. So
Mm-hmm.
this
Yeah.
Hawks team is going to be interesting, but I still don't think they have enough
Mm-hmm.
to get into the playoffs even. As
Yeah.
we saw last season, they struggled. This
Mm-hmm.
is a bad defensive team.
They are.
Um, and even Clint Capella, he's not. He's a good player,
Mm-hmm.
but he doesn't offer enough. And I don't even think he suited up for them last season.
Yeah, he
So,
didn't. He was injured.
so this is a kind of make or break year for the Hawks. I think they need to make the right selection here. And
Yeah.
if Denny falls to them, that's a great pick for them for sure.
Yeah.
And then we get to the Pistons.
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you go first for this one. Who do you think they're going to select?
So for the Pistons, I have actually who you had for the Hawks. I have Tyrese
Okay.
Halliburton going to them. I feel like the Pistons need two things right now, or two positions: a point guard and a big.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they want to move on from Blake Griffin. I don't think that experiment has
Mm-hmm.
worked, and so Tyrese fits the need for one of them that they got. Reggie Jackson being bought out and leaving. The point guard duties fell to Ish Smith, and he's a great backup,
Yeah.
but they want to invest in the future because Ish Smith, he's been bouncing around the NBA. No disrespect to him, he can play,
Yeah.
but obviously the Pistons want to move forward into the future, and so having the 6'5" combo guard out of Iowa State, who basically was filling the role that THT left for them, at Iowa State, and so he's defensive playmaking ability is going to be a huge role for the Pistons because they aren't so well on defense as well.
Yeah.
And so having a 6'5" guard like that can pass, shoot. I think he does need to improve his jumper. It's not the best, but just having a point guard for the Pistons at that position at that position at the draft would probably be the best suited for them.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
the Pistons are in a weird position as well. A lot of these
Yeah.
teams are just in bad positions. The Pistons need a lot of help. I actually have them selecting Killian Hayes. I believe he's out of France. He's a very interesting player. He's 6'4". Um, and obviously, like you said, something that they need is a point guard.
Yeah.
They have fully committed to the rebuild. They traded Drummond for nothing.
Yeah.
And I think they're gonna have to do the same with Blake. And I feel so bad for Blake because Blake has really matured, and I think he's done so well at like reinvigorating himself and kind of changing his whole play style. He's not athletic as he used to be, so he gets in a great jumper and some great handles.
Yeah.
And he just can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
And I hope for him that he has a bounce back season because that first full season with Detroit was amazing when he was back to an all-star, and I loved it because Blake was one of my favorite players from that Clippers team because he was just so exciting to watch. But seeing him go down and struggle was tough. But they need help at every position.
They do.
They're gonna have hope that Sekou Doumbouya is able to develop, but he is very raw. He has a lot of potential, but he also has a lot of bust potential too because he doesn't have a great feel for the game. So you need to get someone that is a little bit of a sure thing, I guess. Killian Hayes played in the EuroLeague. He averaged 7 points a game, 3 assists, 2 rebounds. Good numbers for a young kid like that at 19. And I understand that EuroLeague numbers don't jump off the page. Luka's numbers weren't great. Denny's numbers aren't great. But it shows that he was able to score 7 points in the pros. That's impressive as it is. So he's going to offer the Pistons a good young point guard with decent potential. That's just all they can ask for at this point. Can't hit a home run in this draft. We've seen that.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a very difficult draft for everyone because you can't meet them in person for a while, I believe. In-person workouts aren't happening right now. So it's definitely an interesting draft, and for the Pistons here, drafting best available is the only thing you can do. Not much else. But then we get on to the New York Knicks. I have them selecting Kira Lewis out of Alabama. Okay. He's a 6'3" guard that's very quick. And something that the Knicks have just whiffed on every year, point guard.
Yeah.
They traded Porzingis for Dennis Smith. Dennis Smith never showed any potential in terms of star potential. They thought, let's get rid of Kristaps for him. Don't know. They have Frank Ntilikina, another guard, just never panned out. And with LaMelo, Killian Hayes, and Tyrese Halliburton all taken on my draft board, Kira Lewis was the best available point guard left. He's got an okay jumper, but he's very quick, good finisher, decent playmaker at 5.2 assists, but he did average 18.5 points a game on 45.9% from the field, which is pretty good. But the Knicks just need a point guard. Because, I think they're going to trade Julius Randle or he opts out. Either one. But building on top of R.J. Barrett and Mitchell Robinson is a huge need here. R.J. Barrett struggled through his first season. And I don't know if it's his fault because that was a very selfish Knicks team.
It was.
Marcus Morris was taking a bulk of the shots. Julius Randle could be covered by 5 guys. He'd still take the shot. It was just, I think, like, the Knicks are where you go if you want to get a big contract and you want to put up big numbers because that's what it seems like right now. But it's going to be tough for the Knicks. I think, if anything, they're going to trade up. I don't think they're going to stick with Akira Lewis. I think they want a big name. And I think they're going to do whatever they can to get that first pick. But I don't know if they have the assets to do so.
Hmm.
But who do you think the Knicks are gonna select?
Well, to be honest, bro, like realistically speaking, my bias is speaking right now. So
Yeah.
I do have them taking Trey Jones. Um, it's actually not far fetched because the other day the Knicks social media put his draft profile out there. And so they highlighted his highlights from Duke, gave him a little background. They gave him a whole graphic. And so obviously they're exploring their prospects. But, my bias is actually justifiable in some ways because Trey Jones is probably one of the best point guards left in the draft after
Yeah.
every one of them has been taken. He was ACC Player of the Year and ACC Defensive Player of the Year. He stayed another year, polished himself. He's gotten way better at shooting.
Yeah.
He's athletic. He can pass. He can pick you up 94 feet and defend. And, the Knicks need help just about everywhere. And so Trey Jones, he already has a relationship with RJ Barrett playing at Duke. And I think he can definitely run the floor better than Cassius Winston would have had,
Oh, yeah.
and any other point guards moving forward. I think he's a sleeper. Out of all the Duke guys in this draft, I feel like he is the best guy. Um, so I think the Knicks should definitely consider taking him. He can run a team. You already know he had a share with RJ Barrett, Cam Reddish, and Zion on that Duke team. So he knows what it's like to play with big name players. And unfortunately, the Knicks don't have any big name players. But I have Trey Jones going to them simply because he's a good fit for the system. They do need a point guard.
Yeah.
Dennis Smith Jr. is not a point guard. He's a two at best, and that trade didn't pan out for them so well. He was gone for a majority of last season.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, personal reasons or injuries or what.
I believe someone passed away in his family. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what, and he came back, and obviously, coming back from something like that, like you're not gonna be in your full potential. And so Trey Jones, like out of all the guards left, I think he's probably the best fit. He's smart, and defense is a good thing for the Knicks right now.
Yeah.
And he can pick up your point guard 94 feet. What more can you ask for? So I think they should definitely look into taking him.
Yeah, and I think that just shows this is a weird draft. Because I'm gonna get into for my 10th pick, I'm gonna get into another guy that he's bouncing all over the draft boards.
Mm-hmm.
And my 9th pick, so the Wizards in the next team, I have them selecting Isaac Okoro.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe you picked them or picked the Bulls to get him, right?
Yeah, Isaac Okoro. Yep.
And so this just shows that he could go as high as top 5, but he could also go as low as top 10.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a weird draft. And he's an interesting player. I think a lot of teams are going to shy away from him because he can't shoot.
Yeah.
He shot 25% from 3 in college.
Mm-hmm.
But, he's never been a scorer. He averaged 12.9 points in college. His calling to the NBA is defense. He is incredible on defense. His defensive numbers like steals and blocks might not show it.
Yeah.
But he is going to get his own on the defensive end. He's going to make your life tough.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to make an immediate impact on that end. And with John Wall coming back and Bradley Beal coming back, he's not going to need to do a lot of scoring. And it looks like John Wall may have gotten a better jumper over this time because if you look at his workout videos, he looks good. He looks really good.
Yeah.
So I hope he can come back because when John Wall is healthy, he's arguably the top point guard in the East.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of a better one right now.
Yeah.
This is going to be an interesting year for the Wizards, and I think it's, like I've said, for a couple other teams, it's make or break.
He could be like Matisse for the Sixers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think Matisse has been fantastic.
Yeah.
He gets open looks. John Wall is a fantastic playmaker.
Mm-hmm.
Getting assists from John Wall is easy.
Yeah.
Bradley Beal is not a bad playmaker himself. Then you add into the mix, Isaac Bonga. He's not bad. He's a good player.
Yeah.
They got a couple Laker guys that
Thomas
They're good.
Bryant,
Thomas Bryant.
Mo Wagner.
Yeah, Mo Wagner. He's good.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good young team, and I don't even know how I forgot Davis Bertans.
Yeah.
I would sell high on that guy and just trade him because he
Mm-hmm.
was fantastic this season.
Yeah.
That
Stretch
dude is
big.
a sniper.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's going to be interesting because if you can keep Davis Bertans and have Isaac Okoro as your three, you don't
Yeah.
need the shooting. You need that
True.
defense. You need someone that's explosive, who's going to catch lobs, going to be a cut threat. But Isaac Okoro would fit perfectly on this Wizards team because he doesn't need to do too much.
Yeah.
And I think even the Bulls is a great selection for him because they have the offensive weapons to supply him
Mm-hmm.
and kind of supplement. But if he falls to a team like the Cavs, that's a terrible pick for him because they don't have enough
Yeah.
offensive weapons.
True.
But, I hope he goes to the right team because if he goes to the right team, he is going to be good.
Yeah.
But who do you have the Wizards selecting here?
I actually have them taking Onyeka Okongwu out of USC.
Yeah, he's a good player too.
That 6'11" big.
Yeah.
Yeah, he started off his career in the shadow of the Ball brothers. You know what I mean? But he really came to his own after, they all left. And so, he put up some nice numbers at USC, double-double machine right there. He's very nimble for a big, too.
Yeah.
Jumper isn't as bad. He can't make the three, but he can make the occasional mid-range. And I think the Wizards are going to buy into that because, they have Rui, who can be a 3 or a 4. Excuse me. And they also have Thomas Bryant, right? But I think, like any other big, like they'll run his course and they'll want to go younger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Davis Bertans is a threat of leaving. I think they would obviously need a big, Mo Wagner and Isaac Bonga. These guys, like, although they're tall, they're not traditional bigs. They can't provide what Onyeka can. And so I think the Wizards are probably one of the best fits for him. I think he's going to go top 10 for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think being a 6'11" guy who can defend, he has a huge wingspan. And so I think the Wizards would definitely love his services for that team. And so yeah, I have him choosing Onyeka.
In this next pick,
Yeah.
I do think Onyeka could go top. He will go top 10, but it's just tough.
Yeah.
This is a lot of these teams need point guards.
Mm-hmm.
The Phoenix Suns in the next pick.
Yeah.
I have them selecting Cole Anthony from North Carolina.
Okay.
And obviously I want Onyeka to go somewhere because I love his game.
Mm-hmm.
But the Suns just don't. They need a point guard. They need someone that's going to take over after Rubio.
Yeah.
And, he's a son of a former NBA player, Greg Anthony.
Yeah.
Cole looks to make a name for himself. He is completely different from his father.
Yeah.
Obviously, Greg was a great dunker. His son is a great dunker as well.
Yeah.
But Greg he's an alpha dog.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to go out there and get his own.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks because he struggled with the Tar Heels in his first season.
He did.
He shot a poor percentage at 38%.
Mm-hmm.
He did shoot 35 from 3, but taking into account it's a shorter 3-point line, not great.
Yeah.
But the Suns need a point guard.
They do.
They need someone that's going to take over on their bench for now and eventually help Devin Booker when it's time. Rubio will probably leave in another year or two.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, this isn't the best draft.
Mm-hmm.
The point guards in this draft are good. They're not great. You're not going to hit home run. You're not – and unless a big name like Killian Hayes, Tyrese Halliburton falls, which isn't likely, they're going to be stuck with the Cole Anthony or, Trey Jones, Kira Lewis. Not bad.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
could be a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
But, the Suns were the Cinderella team of the bubble. They went 8-0.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Bleacher Report said they were going to go 0-8, and they
Exactly.
totally just shattered that, obviously.
Yeah.
And we got one of the most iconic shots. Devin
From
Booker over
D-Book.
Paul George.
Yep. Yep.
And him just laying there, like, looking up. It was iconic. And I thought that was
Yeah.
great.
Same here.
I love Devin Booker. I think he's going to be great for a long time.
Me too. Yep.
And it just sucks because the Suns need so much help.
Yeah.
They've made some good selections. I think Mikal Bridges is really good
Yeah.
on defense. DeAndre Ayton, I mean, he wasn't the best player in that draft, but that doesn't mean he's a bust. He's been a great player for them.
Yeah.
He's an easy 20-10 guy, which is great to pair with Devin Booker.
Mm-hmm.
But, going back to Cole Anthony, he doesn't need to start right away.
Yeah.
He needs to just learn from the NBA players and just kind of like figure it out, because before this last his college season, he was seen as for sure top 5 pick. I
Oh
remember
yeah.
hearing about Cole Anthony when he was like 15, and he
Mm-hmm.
was dunking on people. And
Yeah.
now he may be a late lottery,
Yeah.
late first rounder.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough. That's tough to go through.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's no telling where he's gonna get drafted. It's gonna be, like I've said this so many times, it's gonna be a weird draft.
Yeah.
But Cole Anthony could be a good fit here. He doesn't need to perform right away. He
Mm-hmm.
just needs to learn from Rubio, because he's not a great playmaker. But even Devin Booker, he's a good playmaker. So he
Yeah.
could even play off-ball Devin Booker. Anything. But
Yeah.
so Cole Anthony, I think, goes to the Suns. But what do you think he's going to go?
Well, to be honest, I do think the Suns take Cole Anthony as well.
Yeah.
They do need a point guard, because Ricky Rubio is in danger of leaving, maybe in a year or two, like you said.
Yeah.
And then Javion Carter from West Virginia. He's a great defender, but obviously not the player that Cole Anthony is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't think he's a solid backup, but obviously, teams like to go young, and so like defense is great, but offense is better. And he can shoot the three, but Cole Anthony is way better. He has more of a repertoire than Carter does. And I watched Cole Anthony a lot this season, because obviously being a Duke fan, I had to see what the matchups are looking like.
Yeah.
He played great against Duke. Trey John had the last laugh, but he played great, and he played great the whole season. Unfortunately, he got injured. He missed some time, and I think that really played as a factor to his stock, and also the fact that North Carolina was on their way to the MIT.
Yeah.
Or NIT, sorry. They weren't looking good. They were losing a lot of games. And that's what scouts look like too, seeing if Cole Anthony can lead teams. And unfortunately, he wasn't able to. The injury could have played in a role, or playing in the ACC. But Cole Anthony, is nothing like his father. He's super athletic. He's more athletic. Greg Anthony, he was athletic, but not like Cole.
No.
There was footage of him.
Gym.
Yeah, exactly. there's footage of him working out with C. Brickley, jumping near the free throw line. You know what I mean? Throwing lobs himself. And I think it's disrespectful to him if he falls anywhere other than top 20, maybe even top 15.
Yeah.
But I think if he's there for the Suns, I say they take him, because a lot of people don't think that Devin Booker is in danger of leaving, when in fact that he is.
Yeah.
Devin Booker wants to win. As much as he loves the Suns, and they really got close this past season with what they did in the bubble. I don't think he's going to shy away from wanting to play with his two best friends in Milwaukee, and I think that's another trade option there for them.
Yeah.
Not with Milwaukee, but Minnesota.
Yeah.
And so if the Suns want to keep their superstar, they have to build around them, obviously. And so, Cole Anthony would be perfect in pairing with D-Book, both young players. D-Book could show him the ropes. Both guys are exciting to watch, athletic. And so I think with these point guards taken in the draft, in a weird, unstable draft, he's the best option for a team like the Suns. You know what I mean? And so I do think he doesn't fall anywhere past 15. His workouts, he's been posting it on his own. Scouts don't even need to like go work
Yeah.
him out sometimes. You know what I mean? And so I think that's going to be enough, especially during these times, to sell them on a top 10 pick. So I do have him going to the Suns as well.
Yeah, and I think the Suns, as much help as they need, I think they're definitely primed to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
They showed that this season they want to win.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited for this young Suns team to finally make it.
Yeah.
But the tough thing is, like, you got to go against the Lakers, the Warriors, Clippers.
The
It is,
Nuggets.
yeah, it is a tough West.
It is. It is.
And for some
Yeah.
reason, the Blazers make it every year.
Yeah.
Still got to deal with the Rockets until further notice.
Mm-hmm.
This is a loaded West.
It
So
is.
it's
Yeah.
going to be super interesting to see what happens. But that's the 10th pick. That's it for the 14th podcast.
Yes,
So
sir.
thank you again to CJ for sticking around. This has been
Oh yeah,
fun.
no problem.
But
Appreciate it, man.
yeah, no problem. And thank you to everyone who checked out the last podcast. We had 100 views. And thank you for helping me beat my goal of 1,000 views. I wanted to hit 1,000 views for the year, and I beat it with 2 months to go.
Hey,
So
no problem.
it's been a fun year, other
Yeah.
than COVID and
Yeah.
quarantine.
Exactly.
But so thank you for all the support, guys. But check us out on social media. Links are down in the description. But be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. But catch you guys in the next one.